You already. I'm Colum McCaffrey in the training department here in Irish Sailing, and obviously the Irish Sailing Passport, which is powered by Checklick, is a kind of foundational piece that we use to track and record everybody's learning objectives and certificates throughout our framework. So maybe I'll hand over and introduce to Dominik, who is the master and commander of Checklick, and he'll go through what we're in store for this evening.
Okay, well, thanks for the introduction, Colum, and nice to meet you all. I think I mentioned earlier that through email addresses, I do recognize some of you. But just to give you a little bit of my background, because I like to do that, aside from being part of Checklick, my prior to Checklick, and in fact, how I sort of got started in the business is I worked at a sailing club here in Toronto. So we actually started the company back in the day based on some of the things that we thought were sort of lacking in terms of the tools that we had. So my background is very much hands-on and grassroots when it comes to managing a sailing club. We ran a sailing school. We rented out various vessels. And actually, I mean, you probably, or maybe you don't see all of it, but I actually have some sailing photos up there from my days of when I participated in some keelboat races and stuff. So I'm very much integrated in the sailing scene, and especially when it comes to managing and running a sailing school and working with instructors and all of that. So my background is very much grassroots, as I said. So thanks again for having me. I'm going to go through everything that we can here in Checklick to give you, to be able to walk away from this and be able to sort of address all the any of the functionality and be able to sort of handle yourself like a pro within the system. So as we mentioned earlier, this is all being recorded. We're going to have a full recording on this that'll be accessible. Likewise, there will be a transcript. And what I'm going to do is, as we work through each one of the sections, I'll open it up to a Q&A. So not to worry about writing anything down. And then once you have questions, once we sort through some of the sections, by all means, we don't have a large group here, so feel free to speak up and ask questions. Okay? So let me jump right into it. I am going to share my screen. Okay, and let's start with the slideshow. Okay, so in terms of what we'll cover today is we'll go through the Training Center account, which is the manager account. So that's the overarching administrative permissions account. And in that account, for any training centers that are new, the way that it works is Irish Sailing will actually set up your training center. So not to worry about that. And effectively, they'll sort of hand you the keys from there and you'll be able to log in and perform any of the manager functionality. We'll jump into the instructor or the coach accounts and what they see on their end. And that's sort of the meat of the system where you perform all your evaluations. And then we'll look at the student account and then provide you with some help resources in terms of the everyday resources that you have as a training center, as an instructor, or any user of the system. I'll also touch on the storefront payment and registration system, and that's sort of an add-on. It's not anything that's mandatory, but it's something that if you'd like to consider, something that integrates with Checklick in terms of being able to filter in all your students into your Checklick system and then be able to evaluate them from then. And at the same time, be able to accept payment and registration and sort of get the reporting based on all of that. So I have a Q&A section, but what we'll do is after each one of these sections, I'll jump right into the Q&A so that we can break things up a little bit, and it gives you an opportunity to ask questions as we cover those topics rather than sort of trying to cover everything all in one go. Now, I know that it's later for a lot of you, so we'll try to wrap things up within the hour and leave enough time for all those Q&A sessions. Okay? All right, so let's jump right into things here. And what I'm going to do is, first thing is I'll highlight the Irish Sailing Passport login screen. So this screen here is where every user of the system logs in. That includes Irish Sailing, includes a training center manager, and it also includes any of the instructors, coaches, or any students that log into the system. So what we'll do first is we'll log into a fictitious training center, and that is the Windy Bay Training Center. We'll log into there and we'll show you what the functionality looks like from this perspective. So to start, the very first thing you'll want to do is you will want to add students. Now, right now we have a few students that are in the system here already. And with the students that are in here in the system already, we'll show you what their evaluations looks like. But when you take over your account, if you are a new training center or if you're a training center who is already using the system, but just needs a little bit of refresher in terms of how to add students, there's effectively 4 ways to add students into the system. So one is right over here on the people page. If you go to add person, this is how you add each individual one at a time. So that's sort of the easy one if you just want to add a student, one of. Now, if you have a database of students that you'd like to upload, what you can do is you can click on Upload Spreadsheet of People. And over here, you can download a template. And down below here, you could see all the different fields that you can add into the spreadsheet. And then you can upload that spreadsheet, and one by one, it'll start adding each one of the students. You can also add all of your coaches, which we refer to as the term evaluators. And the way that you do that is you'll notice at the bottom here, one of the columns, when you add an evaluator column, you just add the letter Y into that column of that student, and this will allow you to upload all of the evaluators or students right into the system. Okay. Now, the other way to add students into the system is to go to irishsailing.checklick.com, which is effectively the login screen. So if we go back to here and we go to log out and go to the login screen, over here, if your students want to create their own account, all they have to do is create an account here and then select the training center from the drop-down menu. And then over here, fill out all the information and then go create account. And automatically when they do that, they're automatically affiliated with your training center so that you don't have to enter them into the system. So if there's any sort of quick way to add all your students is to effectively send them the link here, which is this irishsailing.checklick.com, ask them to create an account, affiliate that account with your training center, and they can add themselves rather than you having to input them into the system. Okay, so we'll go back to the Windy Bay Training Center account. And the fourth way for people to be added into your people page, into your Checklick dashboard here, is to use what we call Storefront, which again is the payment and registration system that you can use for when people go to register for your courses, register and pay. And when they do that, when they register and pay through your training center and through your what we call storefront page, they're automatically filtered into your people page and they're tagged with the correct the program that they registered for. Okay. And then, so any questions about how to add students or what we call evaluators or coaches into the system? Okay, excellent. So I'll move on here. And then in terms of housekeeping items, so we went through what it would entail for a new training center that is adding people, or perhaps somebody that's already has a training center account but would like to add more people. But if we look at some housekeeping items, like for example, if you look down here on my list, there's these green tags, which are what we call evaluator tags. And these evaluator tags signify that each one of the people here actually have an evaluator permission, meaning that when they log into their account, they're able to perform evaluations on the students that are in your training center. So I'll go over that shortly, but just for the sake of housekeeping items, if we want to remove any of these people for having evaluator permissions, for example, if I go into John Smith here and I click on John Smith, you'll notice there's this evaluator tag here. I just click on X and remove, and now that removes the tag, meaning that I've removed that person from having evaluator permission so that when they log into their account, they will no longer have permission to perform any evaluations on any of the students that are listed in my people page here. Okay, so any questions about that? Okay,
Sorry, can you hear me?
yep, go ahead, Tim.
Yeah, so just you touched on, I have it open on another screen here. You touched on tags. Just one thing I had an issue with before is we tagged students one year we were using the system and in the center I was previously at, and trying to get rid of the tags at the end of the season so that we could generate new ones the next summer to expedite instructors, evaluators finding their students. We had a bit of an issue trying to get rid of them all at once. Do you have any advice on that?
Yeah, so admittedly, the tagging system is not perfect. But what I would recommend to get rid of tags all at once is to actually do it via the spreadsheet. So if you download a spreadsheet of people and you keep that spreadsheet, you see how over here they have various tags over here where they have a Y over here or Y over here. So this is why, let me just expand my the size here because I know it's probably a little bit small. So let me just zoom in a little bit. So if you look over here, there is improving skills, beginner sailing, and those are the tags that we have in our system here. And if I just remove any of these and then re-upload those people into Checklick, it will remove or update any of the tags that you have here. Okay? Does that help, Tim?
Yeah, that does help. Thank you.
Excellent. Okay. So that's the functionality from the training center aspect. And what we're going to do is if I go back to, as we discussed, sort of doing some housekeeping items and, for example, cleaning up who has evaluator permissions, we're going to log into Kevin's account. Okay, and then we'll actually do some evaluation just so we can see exactly what that looks like from the coach's perspective and all the tools and resources that coaches have to perform those evaluations. So I'm going to log out and then I'm going to log into Kevin's account. Oops. Okay, so now I'm logging into Kevin's account. You'll notice that up here, a lot of the tabs that we had up top here, like for example, storefront organization and all of that, it's already stripped from Kevin's account because they don't have the permissions to go and change any of that information or go into any of the student actual profiles. All they can do is effectively perform evaluations on any of the students here. So when it comes to performing evaluations, actually, before I go there, the one thing I wanted to mention is that the way that Checklick works is that there may be a number of instructors or coaches that have permissions to evaluate at different training centers. If that's the case, when the evaluator logs in this particular profile, they don't have access to any other to perform evaluations at any other training center. But if they did, what you could do is effectively just go to the profile icon and switch between the accounts, and that will automatically take them to the permission level for the other training center, so they'll be able to perform evaluations on anyone else that is at that other training center. Right now, I myself, that I'm logged in as Kevin here, I have evaluator permissions for Windy Bay Test Club, but if I had permissions for any other training center, I would also be able to toggle between those accounts and perform evaluations on students that are at that different training center. Okay. So if I go back to the people page, and for example, I'm going to single someone out here and I'll go into Austin Neal. We can see that this full star here and the half star indicates to me that the Taste of Sailing has already been awarded. So this level here within the SBSS has already been marked as achieved. And the Start Sailing, this indicates the half star that there's progress within that particular level. If I go over here to the National Powerboat, you'll also see that in this, the intro to powerboating has also been completed. But let's go into Start Sailing because we see that there's some progress here. So if I go into here, you can, if you perform any evaluations, for example, on any of these levels here, okay? So now what happens is I have performed evaluations on that particular person, and now all of the changes that I made have been saved, and I can view the history of all of that here, okay? So if I go over to the people page here, okay, if I, as an instructor, would like to perform evaluations on multiple people, I can also do that by selecting multiple people. For example, let's pick the first 4 here. And if I go into group evaluations, what I can do is I can select a particular scheme here. So let's go to Start Racing. So if I go into Start Racing here, and I want to perform the same evaluation on all 4 students, I can do that by having all 4 selected and then, selecting whatever it is that I want to select here and perform those evaluations. And then if I want to individually perform evaluations on those students, I can select their name and then effectively perform an evaluation only for that student and save their progress that way. So this is a real time savings measure where, for example, if I'm an instructor and I have, I'm evaluating, say, 8 to 10 students, I could just select their profiles previously, select a group evaluation, and I can perform those evaluations collectively, without having to, if you imagine sort of on pen and paper, you would have to open up each one of their their progress reports or their certificates and fill it out that way. Whereas what you can do here is select multiple students, select them all, and perform those evaluations on all of those students. Okay. So if I go back to here, I'll jump into how to send out reports, those reports that we performed evaluations on. But any questions about the evaluation component? Excellent. Okay, so if I go back into here, if we start performing evaluations and I'd like to send progress reports, let's say, for example, those 4 students that we selected previously, if I go to compose email and I can just type in any subject line, here is your latest progress, and then I can, well done, keep up the great work, progress reports are attached. And then what I can do is over here, I can select the checklist. If I've awarded the certificate, I can attach any of the certificates that have been awarded, or I can attach the checklist. Now, what do those look like? If I go back to Austin's profile over here, if I go to the, let's say, Taste of Sailing here, and I look over here where it says download certificate or checklist, if I download the checklist, oops, what happened there? We'll have to go over that. But this is what the this is what the certificate looks like for Austin. So this is what the certificates that you'll be sending out look like. Likewise, so will the checklists. So when we look at the checklist, if I go select another one, there seems to be an issue with that one there. So if I go to Taste of Sailing and I go to certificate, I can download the certificate for Taste of Sailing there, or the checklist here. So if I look at the checklist, this is what the checklist looks like. So it's a nice sort of PDF synopsis of all of the progress for that particular module. So if I go back to Checklick over here, and as I mentioned, if we want to send those progress reports, we just go to compose email, and then we would write out those subject lines, and then we take an attachment and add any attachment here that is either the checklist or the certificate. Okay. If you look over here, the other things that you can do, there's things like the attendance sheet, for example. So the attendance sheet is something that you can use, like specifically, Tim, you mentioned, for example, using tags. If you do have tags where, for example, you have your tags created and they are for each one of your courses, you can select the tags. And then, for example, if I wanted to select those students, I can download an attendance sheet where that attendance sheet is a sort of straightforward check in and out sort of attendance sheet. That will contain any of the information that they have on their profile. So if there's any emergency contact information or anything like that, it can all be listed here. If you're using Storefront, for example, with Storefront, what you can do is you can ask all sorts of questions during the registration process. So during the payment and registration process, you can ask questions like, for example, if someone has any allergies or something like that. And what you can do is you can pick the questions that the registrant answered, and you can select to have the answers visible in your attendance sheet. So if you want to do that, or if there's any additional information that the student has entered on their profile, like, for example, emergency contact or anything like that, that would be displayed in the attendance sheet. One other thing I'll note here, because this may be a common thing, is sometimes people have issues with their profiles. Like, for example, over here, if I click the email icon, I can include a link to reset password. So if you have somebody who doesn't contact Checklick directly, but for example is asking for access into their profile, you can use this emailing feature to just include the link and just say, hey, I'm sending you the link at the bottom here to reset your password, just to make it nice and easy on that profile holder. Okay. Any questions about that before we jump into the sailor profile and what the sailor or the parent that would be logging in for that sailor's profile would look like? No questions? Okay, excellent. So I'll log out here and I'll log in as one of our students there, which was Austin Neal. We'll just copy that. Oops. Okay, well, I guess we'll have to reset the password. Or maybe I'm just typing in the wrong credentials, which is more likely the case. As we saw in Austin's profile, there were various evaluations performed and certificates awarded. So this is where Austin has all of that information here. And in addition, each student has access to logbooks, to Irish Sailing logbooks. So any of the Irish Sailing logbooks that a student wants to fill out, like for example, over here, if I go into the logbook for a student, you can see that for this particular general entry, there's one here for the personal sailing log SPSS. I can select a variety of different logbook types, And these logbook types can be filled out by the student at any time. And when they fill out those modules, each one of your coaches that has evaluator permissions for your training center has the option to view. So each one of those coaches can view the progress for the student when it comes to any of these logbook entries. Okay, so just like the student, when we logged into the evaluator profile or the coach, we performed all these evaluations. Likewise, the student can view all their evaluations here and print their certificates or their checklist, except that obviously they are not able to perform any of the evaluations here, except they can log any of their progress via any of these logbook entries. Okay. So any questions about the student profiles or anything else that we've covered so far? Okay. Colum, is there anything you want to add here? You're on mute.
Yeah, sorry, I'm out of the car and in the office now. Not at the moment, but I certainly will like to pass a comment at the end, just in terms of how we use or how we would like to use evaluations, just so the whole audience is aware. But so far so good, Dominic. Let's keep cracking on.
Okay, so effectively, the part of the sort of like the all of the functionality, we've covered all of that. I was just going to go into just showing you some resources that you have as a user of Checklick. So do you want to cover anything else, Colum, or do you want me to jump right into that?
No, keep going, keep going. Thanks, Dominic.
Okay, excellent. Okay, so next, what I wanted to cover here is just to let you know some of the resources that you have. Some of you that are using the system, you may have noticed that we actually have a new friendly face here, Joy, who is our AI chatbot. She's really good, answers immediately. So if you go into the app just over here and you click on Ask Me Anything, you'll generally get your answers here because it's actually linked to a lot of Irish sailing resources as well. So the chatbot is actually getting better and better with sort of feeding it more information when it comes to some of the answers to provide. So if you have if you're struggling with anything, you have any questions, you can always just click on Ask Me Anything and just type in your questions there. And then, of course, you have a help center. So the help center is accessible right in when you log into Checklick. So if we log back in as Windy Bay TC and we go back, oops, and we log back into here, if you click on the question icon here, so for example, add people, if I just type in add people, it'll give you all sorts of help articles that you can go through here. So we have a library, I believe we have about 158 articles here or 160 or so. So there's a lot of help resources here. And then of course, if you want to get in touch with us, you can do that via the help center here, submit a ticket. Even if you go through the AI chatbot, that way you can also leave, just say you want to talk to an agent or something like that, and you can leave us a message there via the support tickets. And then, or you can also just go to support@checklick.com and send us your questions that way. Okay. So any questions about the help resources?
I just talked to Joy there. It's very good. Yeah, I just asked it how do I sail upwind, and it gave a very good answer.
She's faster than I am, I'll tell you that much.
Yeah. Can she do my taxes? Yeah, that's very cool. Very cool.
That would be a good experiment. See if see how far she's willing to take it. But yeah, that's great. So yeah, it's really helpful in that sense. And of course, if you do need to contact us, there's always someone there to help. So support@checklick.com. There's always one of our agents to help out. Okay. And then the other thing I wanted to provide you with here is every year we do sort of a general survey. We don't keep any of this information. There's no private information that we share here. This is strictly something that we do as a value add. And what we do is we just run a survey every year, just asking for coach compensation. And in that way, what we do is we sort of compile the results and we run some insights, which we get a lot of data from. So it's something that we do just to help you out as you're budgeting for next season, for example, when it comes to hiring. So what we try to do is equip you with as much as we can and some insights that allows you to just to budget a little bit better, or if you just have interested about where the coaching landscape sits when it comes to compensation. And then the one that I really like is the non-monetary coach compensation insights. So that's a cool one because it's we go into some of those things that are sort of non-compensation related, as in like what you can do and what coaches appreciate and what some of their training centers offer them as non-monetary compensation. So these are all available on our blogs. Again, I'm going to send out this presentation to everyone. And Colum, you'll be able to share it with anyone as well. So all of the links and all of that you can grab from here. Okay. And then finally, the last thing here. So I mentioned our payment and registration system. So this is something that I just wanted to share with the group, that this is something that we set up for you. So it is a way for you to receive payment and registration. It's all integrated within your sailing, within your Checklick manager profile, your training center profile. So effectively, it's just a way for you to be able to receive payments and registration if you'd like. And all of that data gets filtered into your Checklick people page, and it gets organized. So all of the students are organized by the courses that they purchase. There's no long-term contracts. You effectively get 7-day-a-week support. And it's a simple fee where all of the entire maintenance and the all-inclusive fee is 4.9%, and that includes the credit card processing as well. So if you'd like any information on that, you can click on here, and it'll give you a little bit more info about what that looks like, and you can always schedule a consultation with me if it's something that interests you. Okay. So that concludes the presentation, and what I'll do now is I'll just open it up to questions about anything Checklick related. We've covered quite a bit here, and I want to make sure that we leave you with enough time and within the hour here that we scheduled this for.
I have a query with development. Have you thought about an app by any chance? I'm just thinking in terms of instructors who would be interacting with the platform on their phone. I know some centers and clubs do provide a computer, but yeah, any thoughts on an app?
Yeah, we're quite a bit further along than thoughts at this point. We do have we've been working on a fairly significant update coming. Now, the one thing, as I've already spoke with Colum and the Irish sailing team about this, is we don't like to sort of promise timelines, Tim, because we're still maintaining this while we're working on sort of a big update to the system. And part of that is and the integration for effectively an easy to use coaching app. So strictly designed for coaches to be able to very quickly and easily perform evaluations. That will not be what we're calling version 5.0. That will be sort of versions down the line, because first what we are doing is sort of a fairly large scale update to the system overall.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay. Good question. Any other questions?
I have a question regarding like the certificates. I feel like maybe this is more Irish sailing related, but I'm not too sure. Who do Irish sailing / Checklick group like expect to have the manager role, and is it just managers that can actually give out the certificate, and how does that kind of work?
Good question. I'll jump in there, Dominic, if you don't mind. It was actually on my list as well, just to throw a few things on the wall here and see if any cages are rattled, and that was one of them. So thanks, Eddie, for the question. So yeah, so there's two roles in Checklick, as we know, right? So there's the manager role and there's the evaluator role. Only the manager can issue the certificate. So every instructor, every evaluator should be using it, should be tracking the certificates, should be tracking the progress, giving feedback to their learner, their powerboater, their sailor, whatever it might be, until they're ready to say, yep, this person has met the grade and they're ready for certificates. The reason why the instructor doesn't have that access is to give a bit of governance and quality control, I suppose. So only the manager can give that final say off, and that gives an extra line of defense. It gives an extra quality control to ensure that certificates are presented when the sailor, when the powerboater has met the standard. It gives the training center as well a bit more control on their data and who is actually getting certificates and when, who should have that access. We have always kind of suggested that it should be the SI. The SI is fundamentally responsible for ensuring the tuition of the programs. What we'd always recommend as well is that manager access may be a perpetual email address. So it could be, instructor at Irish Sailing. It could be instructor at National Yacht Club. It could be instructor at Mullingar. Whatever perpetual email address is there, that can be handed off to the next SI and give them the empowerment to award those certificates. Does that help answer your question?
Yeah, sorry, I am the SI of my club, and the one thing I've always struggled with is I will send out the certificate to my training officer or center principal, excuse me, and I see then a year later those certificates haven't been awarded. But I just wanted to make sure before I go ahead and kind of have that discussion, if it was a recommendation of Irish Sailing, that it would be the SI. I mean, in my head, it makes the most sense because I am running them off. And is it a case where an email can be changed and edited? Like, as in, can that email be changed, or is it whatever email was set up by the evaluator is that email?
So we'll tag team that response. I'll let Dominik do the email part of it and manager access, I suppose. So yeah, Ellie, if you need any support or to brainstorm who should have manager access, it's up to the training center. However, it makes a lot of sense for the SI to have that access. They're responsible for the tuition and the quality of the program. Some clubs might prefer to have access to their training officer at committee level, what it might look like, and that's their decision. However, we'll certainly support our SIs to get access to it. So if you need a bit of backup on that, just give us a shout and we can explore the pros and cons of either option with your team. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's perfect. Thank you so much.
And Dominik might answer the question about manager access and changing manager access.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so Ellie, in terms of the email that gets generated, that is just a standard email that gets generated from Checklick where you can request manager permissions. So what happens is anyone with a profile, so for example, if we go into Kevin or whomever else, what they can do is they can go into their profile and request manager permissions for a specific training center. So you may notice that at some training centers, like they'll have a little notification that says somebody has requested manager permissions. So the way that it works, if, for example, you wanted to request manager permissions from the manager of the training center, you would go into your profile, and as long as you're affiliated with that training center, you can then request that manager permission right through your profile.
Okay, perfect. I've done that. So then once the person has seen that, they can then just hand it over. Is that the way it works?
That's exactly how it works. So they both get an email, and in there, when they log into their profile, they'll actually get they'll have a notification that says, like a little notification. And then when they click on the notification, it tells them that somebody has requested manager permissions. So they both get an email and also an in-app notification.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay.
Good question.
Exactly. Any other questions?
So maybe I'll throw some stuff here that I had written down, and might maybe stir some other questions. So firstly, the storefront that Dominik mentioned there, some of our training centers are using it. So it's a really good booking system to use because it's already integrated with your learners in Checklick. So if anybody wants to explore that further, I'll be very happy to put you in touch with our existing training centers that use it. Or as Dominik mentioned already, he's very happy, I'm sure, to do a consultation to explore. But it's a nice option. There's a million different platforms out there for booking programs, but this is nice because it actually integrates with the existing profile of all our sailors and stuff. So it kind of cuts out the middleman in some senses, which is quite good. So Checklick, obviously, we brand it as the Irish Sailing Passport, and that's exactly what it is. It's a passport. It's a journey of a learner. So while yes, it is a record of everybody's individual certificates, and that's great, it's also be their journey and their progressive learning journey throughout the different programs. So what we're trying to get into a culture of now is to stop people using it exclusively for you doing your 1 week course or 2 week course, whatever it might look like. And great, Billy, Jack, and Mary are getting their start sailing certificate. Good luck. Goodbye. What a really better way to track skills and fundamentally track the development of a person's learning is every week or every second week or at the end of every program is we're using the functions in Checklick, using the micro evaluations and grading someone's performance from started to improving to confident. So you may have seen now in every single level on Checklick and every single skill in a level on Checklick. So tacking, for example, in start sailing, tacking is also in obviously basic skills and proven skills. Within each of those levels, there's a grading, started, improving, or confidence. So it doesn't have to be confident every single week. The expectations of a week-long program or 2 week-long program doesn't necessarily mean you get a certificate out of it. A certificate is a grading of skill, not attendance. So don't be shy to start utilizing the other functions. Started improving. And if you're ready, confident. And that should be matched with instructors utilizing the feedback functions. So after the end of a program, you should be writing a few notes in the instructor, in the sailor's profile saying, well done, your tacking and jibbing was flawless. Just watching your body weight or watching those shifts next time. And that's a really nice thing for the sailor to walk home with, for the next instructor to have a look at, for Mammy to have a look at as well, at what they've achieved for the week. But it really empowers you to not to necessarily go for the certificate chasing route. It's getting better route, and that's why these programs exist. It's not to sell a certificate. It should be selling development each week. So if you have a problem of attendance and giving out certs every week, you may consider about using that other kind of concept of giving feedback. You're there each week to get better, to move the needle from started to improving to confident if you're getting there, and that's brilliant. And not necessarily always to give a certificate. The certificate is the icing on the cake. It doesn't take 2 weeks to do that, or 4 days to do that, or a weekend course to do that. It might take a bit longer. So don't be shy to push that boat a bit longer. So that's just in my head. It's always something to discuss the difference between certification and evaluations. It's a program versus a course. We should be tracking skills over a longer period, not necessarily by attendance. I'm just something to be conscious of. The other thing I had on my note here, you mentioned already, Ellie, is awarding certificates. So only the manager at the moment can award certificates for the very reasons we outlined. We would certainly encourage that clubs and training centers are open to making sure that their SI has access to that. And we're happy to have a conversation with each centre to explore parameters on that or some pros and cons on that if required. Just let us know. And the last piece I had there was, I mentioned it is a passport. It is for the learner, but it's also for the instructor as well. So it's important that the instructor is using this profile and they can track their journey as an instructor, their evaluations as an instructor. Later on, we hope to utilize Checklick on the instructor space to kind of record their experiences. So, for example, if an instructor wanted to do an upgrade into an advanced instructor course, how can we fundamentally check their experience? They can very easily do a handwritten log and says, yeah, I've been doing this, and that's great, but you can't hide away from the Checklick data. So if every one of our instructors is actually using the data correctly and using the platform correctly by evaluating their students, and then if little Tim there wants to become an advanced instructor, we can check his profile and see how many evaluations has he done, to what level, and on what scale. So over how much long period of time has he been doing that? And that'll give us a better pathway to support Tim or whoever instructor might be to developing their own personal journey as well. So while it's great for the SI or the center to award the certificates, and away you go. It is important for the passport and the journey of the instructor as well to be, engaging the program as well and making sure they're utilizing it. So they have a kind of a blueprint behind them as well, or footprint behind them as well, a digital footprint behind them as well. So there's kind of three things I had in my head. So certs versus evaluations, who can award the certificates, and it's an instructor tool as well for them. So that's my spiel.
Excellent. So anything else that you want to add, Colum, or maybe anyone else has some questions?
I will note as well, because if you give me the mic, I'm going to keep talking, right? So fair warning. Dominik and his team are quite good at responding to all their support tickets. So if you do have a question, or you don't understand what to do next or how to use the system, do definitely go to the architects of the system, which is Dominik and his team. They are very responsive. However, I have on sailing.ie made some crude videos. They're not Checklick approved, so I'm not sure they're the 100% the best, but they're the quick video logs that might help you use the system better as well. So I'm on my phone here, so I can't share my screen, but under sailing.ie and under training, you'll find a button that says Irish Sailing Passport. And there's three windows then, one for learner, one for evaluator, and one for manager. I can see Dominik's face is crying here already. But under each one of those programs, there's a couple of user guides, particularly videos. So it's a walkthrough of our system. Dominik was going to tell me now they're all wrong, but they can be very useful, especially if you are trying to add somebody or give an evaluation, or give some feedback. There's some little mini videos there that can really support you on your journey. So don't be shy to utilize that, and especially if you're an SI, Ellie, because you called it out there. It can be a really good one to utilize for an instructor induction, is to show them this and let them explore it. And then maybe when you do your induction, you might explore using that program with them to make sure they're fully empowered on how the system works properly.
I don't know that was there. That's great. Thank you.
There you go. But it's not the best. I'm no computer whiz. I'm certainly no Checklick whiz. Dominik's the man. So if you still can't understand the system after our quick videos, the lads there are the best. So.
That's excellent. So, I mean, it sounds like between resources, on the sailing.ie website, along with the resources in our help center and all of that, I think, just to stress, there's a lot of help. So, don't be shy to reach out. There's always someone to help you out. So don't feel like you're stuck with something. Just reach out, and you'll always have somebody to help you out. Okay, excellent. Any other questions, comments?
I hope everybody here is on the program, on this call, because you use the platform religiously, or you will be using it this year. It's a really important tool, as I mentioned, for, yes, giving certs, but actually for tracking development of a young person or an adult's performance. If we're utilizing the feedback function, I think that's absolutely magic. And the one thing we really love about Checklick that nobody else can offer is those micro evaluations. You don't have to give the certificates to certs. If you can show that people are progressing each week by moving that needle from started to improving, as I mentioned, and giving some feedback, that's really, really magic. And that can change the culture of our programs away from attendance. Give my badge. That's not what we want to do. We want to do attendance and just get better. That's what we want to build towards. So hopefully you'll use it this year. And also, again, I told you, give me the microphone and I'll keep talking. But it's a really good program for us to collect data. So we have access in Irish Sailing to see the numbers that are on the program across the entire country. So we can see trends, we can see data, we can see what programs are being utilized, what aren't being utilized, and that can give us some parameters on where support is needed, or where there's more opportunities to develop it as well. So if you're utilizing the program as best you can, it gives us a bit more empowerment to support you running your programs down the line from a wider strategic point of view as well.
That's excellent. No, feel free to keep talking, Colum. If you've got more to add, go for it. You're covering it all here, so this is great.
No, thanks. I
The bit I just add on to Colum's comment there is like we did have to use the stick a bit to get the instructors where I was working using it over the last 2 years, but it really came to prosper the summer just gone, let's say, because they started to wonder, okay, who had this sailor, a week, a month, a year ago, and they started engaging with the platform and saying, oh, Mary was with Fionn, and that instructor would go out and find Fionn if they were still on site or working with us and start a conversation over that particular individual. And it was really good for getting instructors to network and review the feedback that was in there, but link in with their colleagues as well. So we definitely, it took a little while, but we definitely started to see the benefit of it. Not started to see, we started to see more and more benefits.
That's excellent. Yeah, and I believe, Colum, your numbers are up in terms of the evaluation and comparison. So that sort of rings true to what you're saying, Tim.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's really good, the ultimate dream is, the win after a program, the win after a course is not the badge, not the certificate. That's the icing on the cake, right? The win is for the sailor to see what they've achieved this week and what feedback has been positive and what improvement goals are there from the instructor. So if we can give the instructor those tools and they're all there, it can really make our quality of our programs much stronger. If everybody knows they're leaving after a course, what they've achieved and what they're working towards to get better, that's the dream. That's all we can ask for. And it's also good defensibility. If you often in our system, because the way it's built, if little Billy doesn't get his certificate at the end of the week, Mammy comes knocking saying, why has Billy not gotten a certificate? And this changes the culture, right? If we have a good track on what he has achieved and what he's working towards, and the expectations are set clearer, we a much stronger program, and we get sailors who are much better at it. So don't be shy to use it for that purpose alone. It's to help set the expectations.
Yeah, this is great to hear, Colum, and it's great to hear because as I mentioned, we're working on some new things, and I think it sort of aligns with everything that you're reinforcing here. So I think in the upcoming years here, you'll see some really interesting stuff.
Very excited. Very excited.
Excellent. We just have a note here from Maria that her internet was sort of dodgy and dropping in and out, but she's thanking us here for the presentation. So thanks for the comment, Maria, and thank you for jumping on the call.
Thanks, Maria.
I have one more question, sorry.
Sure.
With the certificates, and if like a new person joining, question number one, does it cost a sailor to join the Checklick? And then does it cost the club / Irish Sailing to send out a certificate? Is my question.
Great question, and I'm glad you asked that one. I should have maybe flagged that. So traditionally, there was a cost for Checklick up until 3 months ago. So we've removed all the individual fees for Checklick. Traditionally, training centres would become a training centre and they pay the recognition fee for that. On top of that, they had to pay, I think it was €4 per person, per valuation per year. So once you're on the system, you're in, you don't pay again. And then you'd pay Irish Sailing the €4 for that person to be on that platform. However, if there wasn't a valuation done for that person next year, there wouldn't be a charge for it. So anytime you click a button on that person's profile, that counts as an evaluation, and then you'd be banked for that €4. We've got rid of that this year. Irish Sailing firmly believes that everybody should be on Checklick, and if we remove those fees, which we have done, it's kind of our way of investing in the training programs to ensure that every person has access to the platform and all the skills are being tracked properly. Again, to get away from that idea of cert chasing. If we're using the program properly, everybody walks away a little bit better after each course they do. We shouldn't even be using courses, right? It should be programs. The SPSS, the Start Sailing, doesn't have to be done in a 2-week model. It can be done over every Saturday morning over 10 weeks. It can be done as a race regatta ready program. It can be done as an evening session for adults. There's such a huge parameters that these can be programmed with, and that's why we've removed the fees. Everybody should, no matter how much time they spend in the water, they should be tracked, they should be recorded, they should be a little bit better and supported by our instructors. So we have removed all those fees for every training centre and every person.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Now, Ellie, that's conditional, right? That's conditional that you get your sailors on the program and you get your instructors evaluating and giving feedback to the person who's been on your course. Give them the feedback.
Yeah, no, I just know because there's committee and everything like that, and they're trying to figure out money and they're giving out about Checklick and costs and stuff like that. But I can see why the program is valuable. I'm coming from a teaching background in college, so like I can see why tracking it and the child has the power to see their journey and stuff like that on adults is beneficial. So I just want to have all the insight before I'm able to say this is what we need to do this summer. So thanks.
Thanks, Ellie. Yeah, every centre principal, who's the mandated person for us on a training point of view, was emailed directly with that a few months ago. But yeah, 100%. The €4 fees from Checklick has been removed entirely, and that's our way of saying, we want people to be using the platform and want people's skills to be tracked. So once they're affiliated as a training centre and they pass their audits and they have their SOPs and risk assessments and the quality of their program and course programs are adequate, that's all we can ask for. So yeah, they're all gone now, Ellie. Thanks.
Really good questions. Okay, any other questions? Okay. So on that note, we'll sign off. Thank you, everyone. Thanks for having me, Colum. I really always enjoy these because it really gives us an opportunity to, sort of hear about practically how each training center is using the system. And secondly, to sort of validate that some of the things we're doing in the background is, we're on the right track here, and it sounds like we are. So I'm really excited about some of the things we have coming, and thanks to all of you for for sort of providing the feedback. This is all really, really good for us. So thanks again, and Colum, if there's anything else you'd like to add.
Just thanks very much. We're over here in Irish time, so just 8 o'clock. I think you're probably lunchtime there in Canada, right? So enjoy the rest of your day. Hopefully get some sailing done, and I'm hopefully some of these people here might tickle you for the shop front or for any more support. But they know there's a good network there of support internally from Irish Sailing or through Checklick directly as well. So thank you everybody for your time. Thanks Dominik again for the continued support, and I'm sure we'll see you guys all on the water soon.
Thank you very much. That's well said, Colum. And I will be sending out a follow-up to everyone that will include, as I said, a video recording. It will take a little bit of time to compile it all, and then also just some information about the storefront, as Colum mentioned, and the transcript for this call. So you'll be well equipped with everything if you are starting out a new account or just doing some housekeeping items. So thanks again, everyone, and have a good night.